Last night, American soldiers came within inches of being killed or captured on foreign soil, and the country it happened in was the one place everyone assumed was completely off limits. Kuwait, the one Gulf nation that kept its head down, maintained neutrality, kept diplomatic back channels open with Iran, never picked a side. Every other Gulf state had been hit. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, even Qatar. But Kuwait was untouched until last night when IRGC commandos slipped onto a Kuwaiti military island housing American forces with what officials now believe was a mission to kill or capture U.S. soldiers. If you think that sounds like an act of war, you're right. And what comes next is going to shock you even more. Stay with me because this story has 4 separate bombshells and they all dropped within the last 24 hours. The Kuwaiti Foreign Ministry has now officially confirmed the infiltration. In their statement, they described armed elements of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps breaching Bubian Island with hostile intent, engaging Kuwaiti Armed Forces personnel, and injuring a Kuwaiti soldier before being apprehended. Let that sink in. This wasn't a rogue militia. This wasn't an accident. This was Iran's elite paramilitary force operating on sovereign Kuwaiti territory at a base where U.S. forces are currently stationed during an active ceasefire, while Iran simultaneously claims it wants peace. And here's the detail that makes this even more disturbing. This is not the first time Iran has targeted Bubian Island. On April 4th, Iran struck the same island in retaliation for U.S. airstrikes against Iranian operatives attempting to cross into Iraq. Iran knew American soldiers were there then. They know American soldiers are there now. So when IRGC commandos infiltrated last night, the intent wasn't unclear. Kuwait has responded by formally reserving its right to self-defense under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. If that sounds like diplomatic boilerplate to you, pay close attention, because another Gulf nation issued that exact same language before doing something nobody saw coming. If you're finding this analysis valuable, hit that like button right now. We break down these developments every single day so you never fall behind. Now here's where this story explodes. The UAE, a country that absorbed over 3,000 Iranian drone and missile strikes during this conflict, didn't just absorb them. We now have confirmed reports that the UAE was secretly hitting back. In April, the UAE conducted a covert strike on an Iranian oil refinery on Bubian Island. The timing, almost certainly within hours of the ceasefire announcement. When news of the refinery strike first broke, the world pointed fingers at Israel, then at the United States. Both denied it. Iran stayed silent. Now we know why. The UAE said nothing publicly because they didn't need to. They made their point directly, with precision, and without asking anyone's permission. And the UAE military is not what many outsiders assume. It operates Western fighter jets, advanced surveillance systems, and has spent years quietly building a strike capability that just announced itself to the world. If this war restarts, Iran is no longer facing one adversary. It is facing a coalition it helped create by attacking countries that wanted nothing to do with this fight. And it doesn't stop with the UAE. Literally, while this script was being recorded, a Reuters report confirmed that Saudi Arabia also launched covert strikes against Iran during the conflict. Saudi Arabia, a country that publicly maintained it was not a belligerent, was hitting Iranian targets covertly in retaliation for Iranian attacks on Saudi infrastructure and citizens. 2 Western officials confirmed it. Remarkably, 2 Iranian officials confirmed it as well. This matters because it reframes everything. The public narrative during this war was that the Gulf states were passive, absorbing attacks while the U.S. and Israel did the fighting. That narrative is now dead. Multiple Gulf nations were in this fight. They chose silence over headlines because deterrence doesn't require a press conference. Now ask yourself this. If the war restarts, and the evidence suggests it will, how many countries will be openly involved this time? That question matters more than ever right now because the peace negotiations are on the verge of collapse. Iran submitted a proposal that the United States describes as one of the weakest offers it has ever seen. Trump reportedly refused to finish reading it. Iran's terms: lift the naval blockade, release frozen assets, and open the Strait of Hormuz, while refusing to give up a single gram of enriched uranium or dismantle any part of its nuclear program. In exchange for everything, Iran offers access to a waterway it has no legal right to close in the first place. Yesterday, President Trump met with military and national security advisors to review available options. These meetings have been happening roughly twice a week since the ceasefire, but the context this time is different. Trump is traveling to China tomorrow for a summit with President Xi Jinping, and China holds significant leverage over Iran. Both sides know Iran will be on the table in Beijing whether anyone wants it there or not. Watch that summit closely. What comes out of it may determine whether this ceasefire holds or collapses entirely. Meanwhile, the country mediating these negotiations is now under serious scrutiny. Pakistan positioned itself as a neutral diplomatic bridge between Washington and Tehran. But days after the ceasefire was announced in April, Iran quietly flew multiple military aircraft, including an RC-130 reconnaissance and intelligence gathering plane, into Pakistan's Nurkan Air Force Base, where they remain to this day. Pakistani officials confirm the aircraft are present but deny any military arrangement, calling the suggestion misleading and speculative. The U.S. military did also send equipment to Pakistan in preparation for a potential second round of talks, so the picture isn't entirely clear. But Senator Lindsey Graham made his position plain in a Senate hearing this morning, stating publicly that he doesn't trust Pakistan, that housing Iranian reconnaissance aircraft is fundamentally inconsistent with being a neutral mediator, and that if confirmed, the U.S. should be looking for someone else to run these talks. Here's the troubling irony. Iranian officials just 2 to 3 weeks ago were accusing Pakistan of being too pro-American. When both sides are accusing the mediator of favoring the other, that either means the mediator is doing something right, or it means the entire process is unraveling. We'll know soon. Back inside Iran, the economic situation is reaching a breaking point. Iranians are facing back-breaking food inflation, prices that have skyrocketed in the past month, not simply because of sanctions, but because the IRGC was caught smuggling weapons inside food cargo shipments. That deliberate act directly throttled Iran's own food supply. The Iranian rial continues to collapse in value. Iran's central bank has now imposed emergency restrictions on foreign currency transactions just to preserve whatever hard currency reserves remain. The cruel reality of authoritarian regimes, whether in Russia, North Korea, or Iran, is that economic suffering rarely reaches the decision makers. The elites who chose this path remain comfortable. The population pays the price. Sanctions work over time, but dictators are willing to outlast their own people's suffering to hold on to power. Iran's leadership has shown every sign it intends to do exactly that. Which raises the question nobody in English language media is answering clearly. How did Iran get here? Why does a country with this much potential keep choosing this path? The answer doesn't start in 1979. It goes back to the 19th century, to the Qajar dynasty, to decisions made by a ruling class over 100 years ago that still echo in every headline you're reading today. We've just launched a new multi-part deep dive covering exactly that history. If you want to understand not just what Iran is doing, but why, the link is in the description. If this kind of daily breakdown is what you've been looking for, subscribe. It's the easiest way to make sure you never miss an update when things move this fast.